My child, stop what you are doing right now. I need you to hear me. Not the version of me that has been handed to you in comfortable Sunday morning packages. Not the version that fits neatly into a 30-minute sermon with a smile and a closing song. I need you to hear me as I truly am. Ancient, uncontainable, burning, and deeply, completely in love with you. What I am about to show you today has been sitting in my word for thousands of years. It has been there every single Sunday. It has been there in every Bible that has ever been printed, in every pew, in every hand, in every home. And yet, week after week, year after year, most of the people who claim to teach my word have walked right past it. Some because they did not understand it. Some because it made them uncomfortable. Some because the truth of it would have changed everything. And change is something human hearts resist, even in the house of God. But I am telling you right now, if you stay with me through this message, if you do not close this and walk away, your life will not look the same on the other side of it. Not because of words, not because of emotion, but because truth, real truth, the kind that was breathed into existence before the foundations of the world, truth does something to a person. It unlocks things. It breaks things open. It sets people free in ways that religion alone never could. So I am asking you, stay. Do not skip ahead. Do not let the noise of your day pull you away from this moment. This moment is not an accident. You did not find this message. I brought it to you. I know what you have been carrying. I know what question has been living quietly at the back of your mind, the one you have not spoken aloud because you were not sure it was allowed. I know the doubt you have wrestled with in the dark. I know the prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and came back unanswered. I know all of it. And it is precisely because I know all of it that I brought you here today. Because what your pastor skipped, what the comfortable version of Sunday morning left out, is the very thing you have needed all along. My child, I see you. I have always seen you. Not the version of you that sits in the pew with the right expression on your face. Not the version that sings the songs and shakes the hands and says, I am fine, I am blessed, when someone asks. I see the version that drives home in silence afterward and wonders why nothing seems to change. I see the version that opens the Bible sometimes and then closes it again because the words feel distant, like they belong to someone else's story. I see the version that has been faithful, that has kept showing up, that has kept trying, and yet still feels like something essential is missing. That feeling is not a sign of weak faith. That feeling is a sign that something true has not yet been told to you. And today, that changes. Let me take you back, not to last Sunday, not to the sermon you half remember from 3 weeks ago. Let me take you back to the original, to the language in which my word was first breathed into the minds and hands of the men who wrote it. Because somewhere between the ancient fire of that original language and the polished translation sitting in your lap on Sunday morning, something got lost. Not by accident in every case, but lost nonetheless. Smoothed over, softened, made palatable, made manageable, made safe. And my word was never meant to be safe. It was meant to be true. There is a verse. It is not hidden in some obscure corner of the scripture that scholars rarely visit. It is not buried in the genealogies or the ceremonial laws that congregations rarely open. It is sitting right in the middle of one of the most beloved and quoted passages in all of the New Testament. It has been read aloud from pulpits around the world for 2,000 years. And yet, the word at the very center of it, the Greek word that carries the entire weight of its meaning, is almost never explained, almost never unpacked, almost never taught in the fullness of what it actually means. The passage is from the Gospel of John, the 3rd chapter, the 16th verse. You know it, you have heard it, You may have it memorized. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. You have heard those words 100 times. You have seen them on signs at football games. You have seen them printed on bookmarks and bumper stickers and church bulletins. And because you have heard them so many times, there is a danger. The danger of familiarity, the danger of hearing without listening, the danger of knowing the words so well that you stop letting them hit you. But here is what almost no one ever tells you. Here is what gets walked past every single Sunday. The word translated as loved in that verse is not the ordinary Greek word for love. It is not phileo, the warm human affection between friends. It is not storge, the natural bond between family members. It is agape, and agape is not simply a stronger version of those other loves. Agape is a category of its own. It is the word the original writers reached for when they needed to describe something that had no human parallel, something that did not originate in emotion, something that did not depend on the worthiness of the one being loved, something that was, in its very nature, a choice of the will, a commitment of being, a love that loves not because of what you are, but in spite of everything you are, and then moves towards you anyway. Agape is not passive. That is the first thing I need you to understand. Agape is not the feeling you get when you watch a sunset or when you hold your grandchild. Agape is active. Agape is costly. Agape looks at the full truth of a person, every failure, every secret, every wound, every sin, every doubt, every moment of running away, and then it moves toward that person with intention and with sacrifice. When I say I so loved the world, I am not saying I felt warm toward humanity in a general distant kind of way. I am saying I made a decision before time began, with full knowledge of everything you would ever do and everything you would ever fail to do, to move toward you at the highest possible cost to myself. That is what agape means, and that is what your pastor often does not have time to explain on a Sunday morning. That is what gets lost between the announcement of the sermon series and the closing prayer. But I need you to sit with it today, because it changes everything. If my love for you is agape, then it cannot be earned. If it cannot be earned, then it also cannot be unearned. If it cannot be unearned, then every moment you have spent feeling like I pulled away because you failed, every moment you have spent in spiritual shame thinking you had exhausted my patience, every moment you have spent wondering if you had gone too far or asked too many times or disappointed me one time too many, every single one of those moments was built on a misunderstanding of the word, not the meaning of the verse, the actual word, the Greek word, the one your pastor read in English and moved past in 30 seconds. Agape does not cool. Agape does not get tired. Agape is not waiting for you to clean yourself up before it comes close. Agape came close at its own expense, while you were still in the middle of your mess, not at the end of it. Now I want you to stay with me, because there is more, and the next thing I am going to tell you is the part that changes not just how you feel about yourself, but how you live, how you pray, how you approach tomorrow morning. But before I get there, I need you to understand one more layer of what was hidden from you, because John 3:16 is not the only place this happened. It is simply the most famous, and the pattern runs much deeper. Do you know the word chesed? It is a Hebrew word. It appears in the Old Testament over 240 times. Over 240 times. It is the heartbeat of the Psalms. It is the anchor of the covenant I made with my people from the very beginning. And in most of your English Bibles, chesed is translated as one of 3 words: loving kindness, mercy, goodness. And while none of those translations are wrong exactly, none of them are fully right either, because chesed does not have a perfect English equivalent. That is why it was flattened into something manageable. That is why it was given a simple word, so that the sermon could keep moving, But Chesed is not simple. Chesed is covenant loyalty that refuses to quit. It is the love of a father who keeps running toward a child that keeps running away. It is the commitment of a shepherd who leaves the 99 comfortable sheep to go into the dark for the one that is lost. Chesed is love with obligation attached, not obligation as burden, but obligation as promise, obligation as I am not going anywhere, obligation as you cannot push me far enough away that my chesed does not find you. Psalm 136 repeats the same phrase 26 times. His chesed endures forever. His chesed endures forever. His chesed endures forever. 26 times in a single psalm. Do you think I put that there by accident? Do you think that repetition was just a poetic device with no message behind it? No. I put it there 26 times because I knew how quickly human hearts forget. I knew that you would wake up on a Tuesday morning feeling like the farthest thing from loved, and you would need to be reminded not once, not twice, but 26 times in a row that my chest endures, that it has not changed since the night you cried yourself to sleep, that it has not dimmed since the morning you made the choice you still regret, that it is still here, still moving, still yours. And yet most Sunday mornings, that word gets read out loud as mercy, and the congregation nods and moves on, and you go home not knowing that there is a covenant force with your name on it that has been in motion since before your first breath and will not stop until after your last. My child, hear me now. I am not telling you this to make you feel good in a shallow way. I am not trying to give you an emotional experience that fades by Wednesday. I am telling you this because a lie has been living in the background of your faith, and it is costing you. It is costing you peace.
It is costing you confidence in prayer. It is costing you the boldness that should be yours as someone who is covered by agape, who is anchored by chesed. The lie sounds like this: if I pray enough, if I serve enough, if I stop making the same mistakes, then God will really be with me. Then I will deserve his blessing. Then I will have earned the right to come boldly to his throne. That lie is everywhere. It is in the structure of some worship services. It is in the subtle pressure to perform your Christianity correctly. It is in the way guilt is sometimes used from the pulpit as a motivator. It is in the culture of religious striving that makes faith feel like a job you are always in danger of losing. And I need you to hear me clearly when I say this. That is not my voice. That has never been my voice. My voice sounds like this: come. Come as you are. Come tired. Come failing. Come with your doubts and your record of broken promises, and your list of prayers you stopped praying because you thought I stopped listening. Come because I am agape. Come because my chesed endures forever. Come because the moment you turn toward me, I am already running toward you, and the distance between us collapses not because you earned it, but because that is the nature of the love I have chosen to have for you since before the world began. Now I told you that the most important part was coming, and it is. Because understanding the words is one thing, but I need you to understand why this matters for your life right now, today, in the middle of whatever you are walking through. You have been praying for something. I know you have. Some of you have been praying for the same thing for months. Some of you for years. You have asked with faith, and then with doubt, and then with desperation, and then sometimes in a kind of numb silence, because you ran out of energy to ask anymore. And in that silence, a thought crept in. The thought said, maybe he is not going to answer this. Maybe this is not for me. Maybe everyone else gets the testimony, but I just have to accept that this particular thing is not in his plan for me. I need to address that thought directly, because it is one of the most effective lies the enemy plants in tired hearts. Here is what was left out of the teaching you received. Here is what the rushed Sunday sermon rarely had time to fully explain.
The Greek word that is translated as ask in Matthew 7:7 is the word aiteo. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door shall be opened. And aiteo carries a specific connotation that the English translation does not fully capture. It is not a polite, hesitant request. It is not the prayer of someone who is not sure they are worthy enough to ask. Aiteo is the word used for a child asking a parent. It carries with it an assumption of relationship, an assumption of access, an assumption that the one being asked is both willing and able, and that the one asking has the right to make the request. In other words, when I said ask, I was not inviting you to timidly knock on the door of a distant and unpredictable God and hope he is in a good mood. I was telling a child to come to their father with the full confidence that they are known, loved, and heard. The knock in that verse, the Greek word is krou, and it does not mean a polite single tap. It means to knock persistently, to keep knocking, to knock in the manner of someone who knows that the person on the other side of the door is home, who knows that the door will open and who is not going to walk away until it does. Do you hear the difference? The translation is not wrong, but the fullness of what I was saying, the boldness, the confidence, the relational intimacy I was inviting you into, that gets flattened when it is read quickly on a Sunday and the congregation moves on to the announcements. I was not telling you to maybe ask if you feel worthy on the days when your faith is strong. I was telling you to come like a child comes to a father, confidently, persistently, with the full knowledge that the relationship is real, that the door is real, and that the answer is not a matter of if, but of when and how. Your unanswered prayers are not evidence that I am not listening. Your unanswered prayers in the timing that you expected are not evidence that my chesed has run out for your specific situation. There are things I am doing in the space between your asking and your receiving that you cannot see from where you are standing. There are doors I am closing to protect you from what you think you want. There are preparations being made that require a season of waiting that feels, from your side, like silence, but from my side is anything but silent. I am working. I have not stopped working. The chesed that endures forever is not idle. The agape that moves toward you at great cost does not pause because the calendar turned another month. I am in motion on your behalf right now, in this moment, and the question is not whether I am faithful, but whether you will hold on long enough to see what faithfulness looks like when it arrives. Do not close this message yet, because I need to tell you something about the specific thing you are afraid of. And when I say specific, I mean it. I mean the thing you have not told anyone. The thing that wakes you up at 3 a.m. The thing that sits in the back of your mind during worship and makes you feel like a hypocrite for raising your hands when you still have not figured out how to trust me with this one thing. I know what it is. I have always known. And I want you to understand something about the way I see it. There is a word in the Hebrew that is used in the 91st Psalm. It is the word satar. It means to hide, to conceal, to cover over. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. The word for shelter there is the word sita, which comes from satar. And it does not simply mean a place to go when there is danger. Sita describes the secret place, the concealed place, the place so close to me that what is attacking you cannot find you there because you are hidden behind me. The 91st Psalm has been read at funerals and in hospital rooms for thousands of years. It has been printed on prayer cards and embossed on bookmarks. But what is almost never explained is that Sita is not a place you find yourself in automatically. It is a dwelling. The Psalm says, "He who dwells there." The Hebrew word for dwell there is yeshav, and it means to settle, to remain, to inhabit, as a permanent resident, not a tourist, not a visitor passing through, but someone who has made this place their home. What your pastor sometimes skips is the invitation inside that psalm. Not just that the shelter exists, not just that I am a hiding place, but that you have to choose to live there. You have to choose to settle your mind and your trust in me so completely that the shadow of my presence becomes the atmosphere you breathe, not a place you visit in crisis and then leave when the emergency passes. Most people use me like an emergency contact. They call when things fall apart. They come close when the diagnosis is frightening, or the marriage is fracturing, or the finances have collapsed. And I receive them every time, because that is what agape does. But what I am describing in Psalm 91 is different. What I am describing is a person who has decided that nearness to me is not a crisis response, but a way of life. A person who wakes up and before their feet hit the floor, they are already in conversation with me. A person who carries the awareness of my presence, not as a religious discipline, but as a natural reality, the way you carry the awareness of your own heartbeat. And when you live there, when you truly inhabit the seater, the things that terrify you do not disappear from the world, but they cannot reach you the same way. The arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that stalks in darkness, the terror that comes by night, those things are real. I did not write a psalm that pretended the world is not dangerous. I wrote a psalm that told you where to stand so that the danger does not define you. You have been standing in the open. You have been facing the things that frighten you out in the exposed field of your own anxiety and your own resources and your own problem solving. And you are tired. I can see that you are tired. I can see the heaviness in you that comes from trying to carry what was never yours to carry alone. Come into the seater. Come into the secret place. Not as a tourist. Come to stay. And as you settle there, I want to tell you what I see when I look at your future. Not the future your fear has been narrating to you. Not the future your worst-case scenario mind assembles at 3 a.m. I want to tell you what I see, because I see from a vantage point that your fear does not have access to. There is a word in the Greek of the New Testament that is almost always translated as hope, and its translation is not wrong, but it is incomplete. The word is elpis. In modern English, hope has become a soft word, a wishful word. I hope it works out. I hope things get better. Hope as uncertainty dressed in optimism. But elpis in the Greek is not wishful thinking. Elpis is confident expectation. It is the certainty of something not yet seen. It is not I wish this would happen. It is I know this is coming, because the one who promised it does not lie. Romans 5:5 says that hope, elpis, does not put us to shame. And the reason it does not put us to shame is because it is not based on our circumstances or our feelings or the current evidence available to our eyes. It is based on the character of the one who made the promise. And my character does not change with the seasons of your life. I want to speak to the thing in you that has given up hoping, the part of you that decided somewhere along the way that hope was for people whose stories had better arcs than yours, the part of you that has watched prayer requests go unanswered for so long that hoping started to feel foolish, like setting yourself up for disappointment again. Hear me now. That part of you learned something wrong, not from bad theology necessarily, but from a reading of your circumstances that forgot who I am. That part of you measured my faithfulness against your timeline and found me wanting. But my child, I am not measured in your timeline. My faithfulness is not visible in the units of measurement that your anxiety uses. I work in ways and through pathways that your limited perspective cannot fully trace. I am doing 1,000 things at once in the story of your life, and you can only see the thread you are currently standing on. You cannot see the tapestry. You cannot see how the thread of this painful season is being woven into something that will one day make you catch your breath. You cannot see it yet, but I can. And I am asking you to trust the weaver, even when you cannot see the pattern. Do not skip this part. I need you to receive this fully, because what I am about to say is the anchor for everything else. There is a promise I made that was not given to the spiritually elite. It was not reserved for the theologians or the missionaries or the people who never doubted. It was given to the tired ones, the struggling ones, the ones who showed up anyway, even when showing up was the hardest thing they had ever done. Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You know this verse. But do you know what the word wait means in the original Hebrew? The word is kava, and kava does not simply mean to sit still and be patient. Kava comes from a root that means to twist, to bind together, to intertwine. It is the image of a rope being made, multiple strands being twisted together until they form something stronger than any individual strand could ever be on its own. To wait on me in the Hebrew sense is not passive resignation. It is active intertwining. It is the act of wrapping your life so completely around mine that your strength and my strength become indistinguishable. It is not waiting like someone in a waiting room who has nothing to do but sit and stare at the clock. It is waiting like a vine grows around a trellis, actively reaching, actively wrapping, actively becoming attached. And when that kind of waiting, that kava waiting, that active intertwining happens, the promise is not that I will send you strength from a distance. The promise is that your strength will be renewed. The Hebrew word for renewed there is chalaf, and it means to be exchanged, to pass from one state into another. Your weakness exchanged for my strength, your exhaustion exchanged for my energy, your limited human capacity exchanged for something that comes from an entirely different source. That is not the picture most people have in mind when they tell themselves to just wait on the Lord. Most people picture gritting their teeth and enduring until things get better. But I am describing something transformative. I am describing a process of intertwining, of exchange, of becoming, through proximity and trust and relationship with me, something that your own effort and willpower could never manufacture. My child, type Amen in your heart right now if you receive this. Say yes to me in this moment, not as a performance, not because someone told you to, but because something in you recognizes that this is real, that this is the word you needed today, that this is why you were brought to this message and not another one. Because there is still more I need to tell you. And the next part is about the specific fear I see in you most clearly right now. The fear of whether I will provide. The fear of whether the finances, the health, the relationship, the situation that feels impossible will resolve. The fear that I see your need, but perhaps it is not quite urgent enough or important enough for me to intervene. Let me address that directly, and let me do it with a word that most teaching passes right over. The name El Shaddai. You have probably heard it sung in worship. You may have heard it in a sermon. But the fullness of what it means is rarely unpacked. El means God, the strong one, the mighty one. Shaddai is the word that theologians debate, but that carries, in its ancient usage, the image of the mountain, of the immovable, of the all-sufficient one, the one who needs nothing from outside himself, and who lacks nothing that he has promised to supply. But here is the layer that almost never gets preached. El Shaddai is the name I revealed to Abraham. In Genesis 17:1, I appeared to Abraham, and I said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me, and be blameless. And then immediately after that name revelation, I renewed the covenant of blessing. I spoke of descendants, of land, of promise, of provision stretching forward across generations. The name I used was not coincidental. El Shaddai was not a theological title I was introducing for academic purposes. It was a personal declaration of what I was about to be for Abraham in the middle of his impossible situation. Abraham was old. His body, as Paul writes in Romans, was as good as dead when it came to the possibility of fathering a child. Sarah was long past the age of bearing children. Everything in the natural world said this cannot happen, and into that impossibility I introduced myself by a name that means I am the all-sufficient one. I am the one for whom no resource is lacking. I am the one who does not need the circumstances to cooperate in order to fulfill what I have spoken. El Shaddai is the name of a God who provides not from the overflow of easy circumstances, but from the inexhaustible store of his own nature. I did not give Abraham a son because things lined up conveniently. I gave Abraham a son because I am El Shaddai, and what I did for Abraham I am not too tired to do for you. Do you hear me? I am not too tired to do for you what I did for Abraham. I am not running low on the resource that your situation requires. I am not looking at your financial need or your health challenge or your broken relationship or your prodigal child and saying, I would help, but I am not sure I have enough to work with here. El Shaddai does not run out. El Shaddai does not look at impossible situations and revise the promise downward to make it more achievable. El Shaddai looks at impossible situations and says, good, now watch, now see who I am. But there is still a layer beneath this that your pastor often does not have time to get to. And it is this: the all-sufficiency of El Shaddai is not just about miracles. It is not just about dramatic interventions that overcome physical impossibility. The all-sufficiency of El Shaddai covers your daily bread as much as it covers your impossible mountain. It covers the small needs, the quiet fears, the persistent low-grade anxiety about whether things will hold together. Philippians 4:19. And my God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. The word for supply in the original Greek is plerosai, from pleru, which means to fill up completely, to make full, to cram full, to fill to the brim. Not partially supply. Not supply the most urgent things and leave the rest. Fill. Completely. According to what measure? According to your income? According to what seems reasonable given your circumstances? No. According to his riches in glory. According to a storehouse that is not limited by the economy of the world you can see. This verse was written by Paul from prison. This verse about the all-sufficient provision of God was not written by someone sitting comfortably with every need already met. It was written by someone in chains who had learned, as he says in the same chapter, to be content in all circumstances. Having learned the secret, the Greek word is mueo, meaning to be initiated into a mystery, having been initiated into the mystery of supernatural contentment, not because his circumstances were pleasant, but because El Shaddai was his source. There is an initiation available to you that religion alone cannot give you. There is a depth of trust available to you that cannot be manufactured by positive thinking or by hearing the right sermon. It comes from relationship. It comes from the kind of encounter with my character, with agape, with chesed, with the nature of El Shaddai that rewires how you see everything. And that is what this message is. This is not just information. This is an invitation to an encounter. I brought you here today because something needs to shift in how you see me. And the shift that needs to happen is not complicated. It is not about learning more doctrine or correcting more theology. It is about this. I need you to let me be bigger than your fear. I need you to let what you know of me outweigh what you see in your circumstances. I need you to let agape be a living reality in your daily experience and not just a word on a bumper sticker. And the way you let me be bigger is not by trying harder. It is by drawing closer, by coming into the seater, the secret place, by practicing the kava, the active intertwining, by calling me by my name, El Shaddai, not as a magic formula, but as a personal declaration of who you are trusting and why. Say yes to me right now, in whatever way is real for you. a whispered yes, an amen in your heart, a hand placed open in your lap as a posture of receiving, because I am not done. There is still something I need to tell you about the enemy of your faith. And this is the part that most comfortable Christianity leaves out almost entirely. There is a truth about spiritual opposition that your pastor may have touched on, but rarely digs into deeply, because it makes congregations uncomfortable. The truth is this: your battle is real. Your adversary is real. But your adversary is not as powerful as your fear has made him seem. And the reason your fear has inflated his power in your imagination is because you have not been taught clearly enough what it means to stand in the authority that I have given you. Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. This verse is read often, but here is what rarely gets explained from it. The word wrestle in the Greek is pale, and it is a word used for hand-to-hand combat, for close, personal, individual struggle, and it is present tense, not we wrestled, not we will wrestle someday in the extreme situations. We wrestle. Ongoing, present, daily. This is the nature of your life as a person of faith in a world that is spiritually contested. But here is the part that changes everything. I did not write Ephesians 6 to terrify you. I wrote it to equip you. And the armor described in that passage, every single piece of it, is not something you manufacture. It is something I provide. The belt of truth is not your truth. It is my truth. The breastplate of righteousness is not your righteousness. It is the righteousness of Christ credited to you through faith. The shoes of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, every single piece of that armor is an expression of who I am, placed over who you are. Your job is not to win the battle through your own spiritual strength. Your job is to put on what I have already provided and to stand. The Greek word for stand in Ephesians 6:13 is histemi, and it means to be immovable, to hold your ground, to not be moved from the position you have been given, not advance, not attack, stand, because I have already done the advancing. I have already done the decisive work. What I am asking you to do, what I am equipping you to do, is to hold the ground of what my victory has already secured. The adversary's primary weapon against you is not power, it is deception. It is the suggestion that the ground has shifted, the whisper that says, God's promises are for others, not quite for you. The thought that says, this season will never end, this situation will never change, that prayer will never be answered. That is the fiery dart. That is what the shield of faith is designed to extinguish. Not by your own confidence, but by the truth of who I am held up between you and the lie. My child, I need you to stay with this, because I am about to tell you something about your specific situation that I want you to carry with you when this message is over. I want you to carry it, not as a feeling that fades by the weekend, but as a settled knowing that anchors you. You have been looking at your situation and seeing limitation. You have been counting what you have and finding it not enough. You have been looking at your timeline and thinking there is not enough time left. You have been looking at your resources and thinking there is not enough capacity. You have been looking at your own track record and thinking there is not enough faith in me to deserve a breakthrough. And I want to show you something through a story that most of my children know, but have never been shown the hidden layer of. The feeding of the 5,000. You know it. 5 loaves, 2 fish, 5,000 people. A miracle, a testimony, a crowd fed. But here is what almost never gets preached about that moment. Before the multiplication happened, I asked the disciples to bring me what they had. Not what they wished they had, not what would be enough, what they had. And when they brought it, the original Greek says, I took it, I looked up to heaven, I blessed it, I broke it, and then I gave it to them to distribute. The breaking happened before the multiplication. I want you to understand that. The breaking happened before the multiplication. The moment in the story that looks like destruction is actually the moment that precedes abundance. The breaking of the bread was not a tragedy. It was the mechanism. It was how the multiplication happened. The loaves did not multiply as whole loaves. They multiplied in the breaking. And I need you to hear what I am saying to you through this. The breaking you have experienced, the season that has felt like loss, like reduction, like things falling apart rather than coming together, I have not abandoned you in the breaking. I am in the breaking. The breaking is not the end of your story. The breaking is, in many cases, the exact mechanism through which I am about to multiply what you have given me. You brought me what you had. It felt like not enough. You offered it with shaking hands, wondering if it would matter, wondering if I would use something so small. And I took it. I looked to the Father. I blessed it. And now the breaking is happening. And I know the breaking does not feel like blessing from where you are standing. I know it feels like loss. But I am asking you to trust me past the breaking, to trust me through the part that feels like reduction. Because on the other side of the breaking, in my hands, what felt like not enough becomes more than enough. That is who I am. That is what El Shaddai does with surrendered brokenness. That is the promise that was in the story all along, that the sermon touched on Sunday but did not have time to take you all the way into. I am taking you all the way into it today. I am asking you to let this truth land, not just in your emotions, but in your trust, in your willingness to stop fighting the breaking and to let it do its work. In your readiness to say, I do not understand this season, but I trust the one who holds it. Say yes to me. Type amen if you receive this. Tell me in the quiet of your own heart that you are not going to close this before it completes its work in you. Because there is one more thing, and it may be the most important thing I have said in this entire message, and I will not rush past it the way it has been rushed past from so many pulpits. There is a promise in Jeremiah 29:11 that you know. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. It has been embroidered on pillows. It has been quoted at graduations and retirements and during hard seasons. And it is real. It is true. Every word of it is mine, and I stand behind it. But here is what almost always gets left out: the context. That verse was not written to comfortable people in a season of ease. It was written to people in exile. It was written to people who had been removed from everything familiar, everything safe, everything that looked like the life they were supposed to be living. It was written to people who looked around at their circumstances and could not see any possible path from where they were to where my promise said they were going. And into that exile, I spoke those words, into that displacement, that confusion, that grief, that loss of familiarity and safety and comfort. I said, I know the plans. Not the plans are obvious, not wait until circumstances improve, and then the plans will become visible. I know the plans. The word for know in the Hebrew is yada, and yada is not casual knowledge. Yada is intimate experiential knowledge. It is the same word used for the deepest relational knowing between two people. I yada your plans. I hold them in the intimate knowledge of my own mind. They are not plans that I am making up as we go. They are not plans that are subject to revision based on how badly things have gone. They are plans that have been held in my knowledge, in my yada, before you were born, before the exile began, before the breaking started. Your exile is not a detour from the plan. Your breaking is not evidence that the plan failed. Your confused, hard, painful, I cannot see the way forward season is not outside the plans that are yada. It is inside them. It is part of the path, not a departure from it. And the future and the hope that I promised at the end of that verse are not contingent on circumstances cooperating. They are contingent on my yada, my intimate, exhaustive, eternal knowledge of what your story is becoming. I need you to carry this with you, not as a slogan, not as a verse on a pillow, but as the load-bearing truth of your life. I know. I have always known. I am not surprised by anything that has happened to you. I am not scrambling to revise the plan in response to your worst season. I am El Shaddai. I am the God of agape. I am the God of chesed that endures forever. I am the God of the Sita, the secret place, where the one who dwells in me is hidden from the worst that this world can bring. I am the God of Kavah, the intertwining that exchanges your weakness for my strength. I am the God who multiplies in the breaking. I am the God of Elpis, the confident expectation of something not yet seen. And I brought you to this message today, specifically, intentionally, because I wanted you to know who I really am, not the smoothed-over Sunday morning version, not the version that has been edited down to 30 minutes for easy consumption, the full, ancient, burning, tender, uncontainable reality of who I have always been. My child, I see you. I have always seen you. I will never stop seeing you. I love you not because of what you have done or who you have managed to be. I love you with agape. I love you with chesed. I love you with the covenant force of a promise that was made before you took your first breath and will not be exhausted when you take your last. The verse your pastor skips is not a threat. It is not a correction. It is a treasure. It is a deeper layer of who I am that the busy world of religious programming rarely stops long enough to fully excavate. And today, you have heard it, not just as information, as a word from me, to you, in this moment, on this specific day, in the middle of whatever season you are in. So here is what I am asking of you now, not perfection, not a dramatic turnaround by tomorrow morning, not a promise to be different that you are not sure you can keep. Just this, come closer, start today, come into the Sita, bring me your kavah, your active intertwining. Let my agape be the ground you stand on instead of your own worthiness. Let my chesed be the word you speak over your own doubts. Let El Shaddai be the name you call when the resources look like not enough. And let the yada of Jeremiah 29:11 be the thing that steadies you when your circumstances are lying to you about how the story ends. I am not finished with you. I was not finished with the disciples in the exile of their grief after the cross. I was not finished with Abraham in the impossible season of his old age. I was not finished with the crowd in the wilderness with 5 loaves and 2 fish. And I am not finished with you. The plan Ayada has not changed. The agape I have chosen for you has not cooled. The chesed is still enduring, this minute, this moment, as you read these words or hear this voice. Say Amen if you receive this. Say it out loud if you need to. Write it in the comments below, and know that as you type it, as you speak it, it is not just an internet comment. It is your agreement with what I have spoken over you today. It is your yes to me, and I receive it. I receive you. Come back tomorrow. There is more. There is always more in my word than one message can carry. There are layers that have not been preached to you yet. There are words in the original Hebrew and Greek that are waiting to be opened like gifts, like letters from me that were written before you were born and addressed to exactly the life you are living. I am not done revealing myself to you, and I need you to be the kind of person who keeps showing up to receive what I am revealing. Not because you have to, not because fear drives you here, but because something in you has tasted the difference between the smoothed-over version and the full, living, burning truth of my word. And once you have tasted that difference, you will not want to go back. You are loved. More than the word love in the English language has ever been able to say. You are seen, more completely than any human being has ever truly seen you. You are held in the yada of a God who has never once looked away from your story. You are provided for by El Shaddai, who needs nothing from the outside world to fulfill what he has promised on the inside of your life. You are equipped with armor that comes from my own nature. You are called into the seater, into the secret place, into the dwelling that transforms Kava from passive waiting into active, transformative intertwining. You are mine, and I am yours. And that is a truth that was never hidden in my word. It was only hidden from you until today. Go in my peace, go in my chesed, go covered in my agape, and come back. Because tomorrow I have something else to show you that they never told you, and you are going to want to hear it.